To solve a complicated system of nonlinear equations when both variables are squared, you have to eliminate one of these variables. In this case, the y squared will be easier to eliminate because all it's missing is the 2 there, and then you can simply add the two equations and you will have ridden yourself of the y squared. Now, so in order for this to be 2 coefficient, or minus 2 in this case, we need to multiply the second equation by 2. Okay, and then we're going to simply add that result to the first equation and the y squared will be eliminated. Right, so 2 plus 6x squared, so that's going to be what? That's going to be 8. That's going to be 8x squared minus 5xy plus 4xy, right? Because the 2 is distributed. Minus 5 plus 4 is minus xy. And this thing becomes 0, right? Plus 2y squared minus 2y squared as a result, because minus plus, the minus wins, and that will give us 0. That's what we wanted, right? We wanted to get rid of the y squared. So as a result, there's nothing of the y squared left. It's equal to 0 plus twice the 15. Remember, when we multiply any given equation by 2, you always have to distribute the 2 to the other side as well, right? Everything on both sides of the equation is multiplied by 2. Right, so 0 plus twice 15, 0 plus 30 is 30. Right, so as you can see, this is a much simpler now equation that we have to solve. Now, there's still two variables, right? So in order to somehow go further, you have to realize which variable you're going to solve for in terms of the other variable. As you can see, x is squared, and there's another x, and there's only one y, one instance of y, right? So that's the variable that we need to solve for in terms of x, right? So realize that we can simply add xy and subtract 30 on both sides. So add xy and subtract 30 on both sides, and this is what we're going to get. We're going to xy on the right side is equal to this guy's gone, 8x squared minus 30. So as a result, look what happens. As a result, if you divide both sides by x, okay, divide both sides by x, the equation that you're going to get, and I'm going to write the y on the left side because that's the standard way you've been seeing this. So y is equal to 8x squared minus 30 over x. Okay. So now that we have y in terms of x, we can plug this value into any one of the original two equations, and then that way we'll be having only one variable left. All right? So which one is it going to be? Which one are we going to plug this in? Well, we can plug this into the first equation or the second equation, but I would do it for the first equation. So let's plug it into the to the first equation and see what we get. So 2x squared minus 5x. Now instead of y here, we're going to plug in this in terms of x. Right? So that's going to be 8x squared minus 30 over x. Okay? Plus 2. Now y is squared, right? So this thing will be squared. 8x squared minus 30 over x will be squared is equal to 0. Okay? You see on the right side we have a 0 and not a 15 for the second. So I thought the first equation would be easier to use for this. So now what we're going to get? We're going to simplify this, right? So we get 2x squared. That's not going to change. Minus, now here's the thing. We need to simplify as much as possible. So realize that the x's will be canceled out, right? Because x over x is 1, so we don't need that. So as a result, what are we going to have? 5 times 8 is 40, right? So minus 40x squared. And then 5 times 30 is 150. The two minuses is a plus, so it's plus 150. And then the next part. So we know that when we square this is what we're going to have. 8x squared minus 30 over x times itself, right? 8x squared minus 30 over x, right? So we're that's what squaring essentially means. So let's do it visually. So twice the first product, okay? 8x squared plus times 8x squared is 64x to the fourth, but there's x squared on the bottom, right? X to the fourth divided by x squared would give us x squared, the result, right? So we're talking about plus 64, plus 128 because of this 2, right? So I'm going to write that 2 on the top, right? That this 2 goes up there, so it's 128, and the resulting power of x is x squared, not x to the fourth because of that x squared, right? It reduces the top x to the fourth, right? And then the next product is what? The next product is going to be, let's see, so twice this product, right? Because it's the same product repeated 2 times. 8 times negative 30 and 8 times negative 30, right? 2 times the same product. This is 240, right? Minus 240. Twice of minus 240 is going to be minus 480. But there's another 2 there, right? So it's going to be minus 960, right? Twice of negative 480 is minus 960, the result with that 2. Now, is there x involved? Well, let's see. The x coefficient, the x power should be x squared, right? As you can see here. But there's a bottom x squared that would reduce it. X squared divided by x squared is 1, right? So there's nothing else but just minus 960. And then finally, the last guy. The last one will be a plus. 30 times 30 is 900. Positive, right? And times 2 is 1800. Now, is it going to have x squared? No. But there's a bottom x squared, right? So we have to divide it. And there's nothing to reduce the bottom from the top, right? Because this is just numbers. 900 times 2 is 1800. There's no x's on the top. So that's why x squared is on the bottom, right? That's why this is a fraction. Now, this is equal to 0, right? The right side. So, multiplying both sides by the x squared will eliminate the denominator, right? So, we're going to multiply both sides by x squared. Both sides of this equation. So, here's what we're going to have. We're going to have as a result what? Well, first of all, actually, let's combine the like terms. So, I'm going to copy this again, and we're going to combine the like terms. So 2 minus 40, let's combine that. 128 plus 2 is 130 x squared minus 40 is 90, right? So 90x squared is the result for the x squared coefficients. Now let's see, the next one is the numbers, right? 150 minus 960 is minus 810. Minus 810. Okay, minus 810 by itself. And then plus 1800 over x squared is equal to 0. Okay? So now we can actually multiply both sides by x squared to get rid of this fraction. So here's what we're going to have as a result. We will have 90x to the fourth, right? Because we're distributing the x squared to each term, minus 810 x squared. Now, keep in mind that this x squared being multiplied to this will cancel out the x squared, right? So it's just clean 1800 being added is equal to 0. 0 times x squared is still 0. Bingo. Now, last thing to do is to divide both sides by 90, right? To get rid of this coefficient 90. So we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 90 and realize all of these numbers are divisible by 90 exactly, right? Which is good. So as a result, we're going to have what? 90 divided by 90 is 1. So we have x to the fourth clean, coefficient 1. That's great. Minus 810 divided by 90 is the same thing as minus 81 divided by 9, which is going to be minus 9. So minus 9x squared, beautiful. And then this one, 1800 divided by 90 is the same thing as 180 divided by 9. 180 divided by 9 is 20, right? So plus 20. As you can see, this looks much better, right? 0 divided by 9 is still 0. This looks very simple now. So this is actually a trinomial, right? This is a trinomial that we can use. So we need factors of 20 that sum up to minus 9, right? And this will be what? The left side can be factored as x squared. Now, keep in mind, it's not going to be x to the first power, as you used to see when you factor, but it's going to be x squared because this is x to the fourth, right? X to the fourth means you will need 2 x squareds when multiplied to give you x to the fourth, right? So this is not x to the first power. Be very careful. So x squared, so we need 2 factors, right? We know x squared will be the first terms in each parentheses. So we need factors of 20. Basically, 2 numbers when multiplied give you 20, and these same 2 numbers when added give you negative 9. So what is that going to be? That's going to be minus 4 and minus 5, right? Because minus 4 minus 5, the addition basically is minus 9. When you multiply them to the minus 4 times minus 5 is positive 20. Good. Is equal to 0. So that means what? That means that we have 2 possibilities. X squared minus 4 equal to 0, or x squared minus 5 is equal to 0. In the first case, x squared will be equal to plus minus 4. I'm sorry, not plus minus yet. It's 4. So in that case, if we take the square root, we will have x is equal to plus minus 2, right? In the second case, x squared is equal to 5, right? Adding 5 on both sides. So taking the square root will be plus minus radical 5. Okay, so we have 4 solutions, as you can see, based on the numbers we have. We have 2x values and 2x values for the other case. So altogether, 4 possible solutions. Now, to find the y, which equation would you use? I would use this equation to find the y, because we already have that in terms of x. You see? You don't have to plug it into the original equations. That would be a waste of time, and that just would be too much, right? You want to use this equation to solve for y in terms of x, because now you know the x's, right? So let's see. When x is equal to 2, let's try that first. X is equal to 2, y will be equal to 8 2 squared minus 30 over 2, right? So that's going to be what? 32 minus 30, right? 32 minus 30 over 2. So that's going to be 1. Now, when x is equal to negative 2, it's almost the same thing except the bottom, right? The top x is being squared, so negative 2 squared will give you the same, basically the same numerator, but the bottom instead of 2 will be negative 2. That's the value we're testing. So which means it's going to be divided by negative 2, the top. So that means we're getting a negative 1 this time, right? So it's just that. So I'm not going to show you that because it's obvious. Now the next value, x is equal to positive radical 5. Positive radical 5. So let's actually plug this in and work it out. So 8 positive radical 5 squared minus 30 over positive radical 5. So that gives us what? That gives us positive radical 5 squared is 5. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 30 over square root of 5 gives us 10 over square root of 5, right? So what is that? We're going to rationalize the denominator, right, by multiplying the numerator and denominator by radical 5. So we get 10 radical 5 over 5, right? Radical 5 times radical 5 is 5. Now, 10 divided by 5 is 2, so this is going to be 2 radical 5. And now lastly, for the last case, we have x is equal to minus radical 5. The same logic, right? The top will be the same, even though it's minus radical 5, because x is being squared. The bottom will be the negative version of the previous, right? So it's going to be a minus sign. So that means this is going to be this, except it's minus. Y is equal to minus 2 radical 5. Okay, so the solutions are, there will be 4 solutions, right? 4 ordered pairs. Okay, so the 4 ordered pairs. So what are they? Let's list them. So we have 2 and 1, We have -2 and 1. -2 and -1, sorry, for the y. Radical 5 and 2 radical 5. And minus radical 5 and -2 radical 5. -2 radical 5. Okay? So these are the respective solutions for the complicated system of nonlinear equations example that you've seen here. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.